Hello and welcome to Flippin Through, the internet's #1 Mad Magazine news, review, and interview channel. And today, sorry I had to adjust my mic, we're flipping through Mad Magazine number 348, released August 1996. Our price, $2.50, which is indeed cheap. But before we do that, let me first say, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below. If you want to support me in another way, consider patreon.com/flippinthrough. What do you get? You get a stencil. You get a 6 set of stickers. Okay? It might not be white, just so you know. Just a heads up, fair warning. And my thanks at the beginning of the video. Here are the people that I get to thank today. That's Misimo, David Strickler, Megan McInerney, Shane Buckley, Bobby Weigel, Cam Hayden, Rob Wilson, Rod Meadsbury, Andrew Goldfarb, Casey Ori, and Little Cozy Nostril. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope I can keep on earning it. So with that, let's get back to the overhead. Let's get me back in here. I hope you can't hear. I started my dishwasher, and it's going right now. And if you can hear it, I apologize. Maybe if I just talk nonstop through this entire time, you won't be bothered by it. Anyway, Mad Magazine number 348. This issue is thick. Ooh, it's thick with such good material. I don't know if I can keep it. I don't know. I'm going to have to skip good stuff. And I'm also going to have to skip the lighter side of. Anyway, I don't know if this is an iconic cover. It's a cool cover. The Ultimate Fighting Championship. You have Mort Drucker who did this cover. We got the, I don't know, what is that, a stomach? Is that a belly coming out of somebody? It's kind of gruesome. It's fun. You got the eyeball. You got teeth and spinal cords and all types of stuff. What they get wrong is they don't fight where there are ropes. It's like a cage. And wasn't it like that from the inception? I don't know. Anyway, look at this. This is a new one. I don't remember seeing this beautiful suicide subscription ad. Mad Mag Oz on Instagram. Definitely worth a follow if you don't follow him already. Why kill your... He reached out to me and he sent me a DM and it just said, hey, fun thing that you might want to research. Was there anybody that actually did kill themselves because they didn't get the last issue of MAD? And I thought that was amusing. But it did get me thinking, like, I need to find all of these. There's got to be more that I can't recall or recollect. And I'm going to have to dig into that. I'm going to have to get to the bottom of that. Put on my Cub Reporter hat yet again. I do have to talk in the letters department. There are some good ones. But only one is... Well, actually, there's two that I'm going to focus on. This one, Mad's Beatles Songbook. This seems to be real. I was very shaken while reading your Beatles Songbook, Mad number 345, when in one of the pictures, there's an image of John Lennon's skeleton in a casket with the sign R.I.P. That stands for rest in peace. Under that, I'm an avid reader of your magazine, but I think that you could have been a little bit more sensitive. I hope that this will never happen again. And, okay, first off, John Lennon, didn't he die in like 85? So this is like, hold on. I know I should have done this. John Lennon death day. It's like a birthday, but it's the opposite. 1980. So this is like 16 years later. 16 years later, this guy wants them to be more sensitive. Oh boy. And this is the great thing is when you emailed, this is like when email was kind of new. But when you emailed in, Mad Magazine would publish your email address, which is lovely. I mean, so you could send him dship67460@aol.com. Maybe I should email and be like, hey man, you still upset about Lennon? Anyway, I didn't even read what they replied. And then plus and minuses, the Zit. If you guys are a Tom Bunk fan, you would know that the Zit was, I don't know, one of his most well-known Mad Magazine contributions. And boy, did it turn out a lot of not hate mail, but like disgust mail. Oh, except this one. It's one of the all-time greats. And it was. Obviously, it stood this test of time. We all love it. Get back. I just thought that was so funny. You would get things like this. Like, you guys are dumb. That's not funny. But not that is so disgusting. I couldn't help but, I don't know, get a smile off of that. I did want to talk about this, the Nerd Cage. Mort Drucker. This is that Robin Williams, and then who's the other guy? Timon and Pumbaa. Oh shoot, I can't remember. Anyway, it's like if you haven't seen it, it is like one of the great comedies of the era. It's this guy, this little like young beefcake. He wants to bring his girl home. Or they're getting married, and the parents have to meet. And one is like this Republican senator, and but the boy's parents run a drag club called the Birdcage in Miami, and it's wonderful. Gene Hackman's in it. Definitely check it out. But we got to keep going. Here we even have things like this: Mad's Guide to Health Clubs and Fitness Centers. Paul Coker. You guys know how I love Paul Coker, but I haven't the time to spend on this, all right? If I have time later, we'll come back. I promise. Because this is the first one that I really wanted to get to and examine the artwork. This is artist Kyle Baker. A lot of music fans couldn't dream of a better fate than becoming a rock and roll superstar. Wouldn't it be fantastic to be as talented as Hootie, as rich as Paul McCartney, as newsworthy as Michael Jackson? To be like Hootie and Paul McCartney? To quote the great Freddie Mercury, no, 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 no. Believe it or not, hitting number one can just be a bunch of number two, as you learn in The Hidden Drawbacks of Rock Superstardom. And I think this art is pretty fantastic. Desmond Devlin wrote this, and it is pretty funny. Like this one, before your world tour, you have to learn how to say, I want the sequined cape pressed now, you worthless piece of crap, in 8 different languages. I don't know who this reminds me of, but I like it. I don't even know that it necessarily reminds me of anybody. There's just it's just so much fun. The proportions, like look at the sort of sinewy muscles of this. What is that? Bootsy Collins, I guess. And then like this one, you have absolutely no control over the type of person who wears your face on their T-shirt. And this guy's huge belly hanging over his groin. What a lovely, lovely illustration. And then there's like, I don't know, this is kind of a small detail, but the backgrounds are like lighter. They're in this like faded out gray, but it adds such depth to it. Like having that in the background, it's super good illustrations. Then it's almost like, I mean, I don't know. It seems very different because it goes from like very light to very dark. But every single illustration after those first two, and those first two were no slouches, just packed with awesome detail. And of course, it is quite funny as well. It's just not humanly possible to give full and equal attention to all 5 of the groupies in your vibrating waterbed. I don't think waterbeds vibrate, do they? Here's this one. This one is so disturbing. It's the guy from Hootie and the Blowfish, obviously. And this poor girl, you'll never truly know whether or not the 18-year-old doing the wild thing with you behind the concert arena escalator genuinely loves you for yourself. And I just love this sort of like innocent face and this broken-hearted spirit that was captured in this. It's freaking awesome. Then look at this one. Holy smokes. Those crazy, unfounded drug rumors start whenever one of the guys in your band drops dead on stage at age 27, which Desmond Devlin, that's a good reference. The 27 Club, lots of famous people died at age 27. The complimentary courtside seats to all those NBA games increases your chances that one of the sweaty players might brush up against you while diving for a loose ball. And here we have, it's Bugs Bunny because of, what is that? Hoop Dreams? I don't know. Space Jam? It's great. This illustrator, Kyle Baker, is pretty awesome. He's done some work for DC Comics. He illustrated like a Plastic Man comic, but it looks like a kid's comic, which is weird because it's Plastic Man. But either way, I mean, the styles between this and some of the other examples of his work were so wildly different that I doubted at first that it was the same guy. But really, fantastic stuff. It's so great, so great. The Cast Iron Laws of Car Repair. Who is this again? Tom Chaney. That's right, Tom Chaney. And again, like I said, Tom Chaney, I'm skipping over Tom Chaney. Yes, I am. Because we're already 11 minutes in, and there's more. This is this is a great issue. All right. Every generation has left its mark on the landscape, whether it be statues of great leaders, monuments to important achievements, or plaque on the sites of heroic battles. But let's face it, by the start of the baby boom generation, all the good statue ideas had already been taken. Somehow, a Woodstock plaque on a big rock in a field just doesn't measure up to the Lincoln Memorial or Mount Rushmore. But hell, the boomers had it easy compared to the generation that came after them. Today's young adults, the slackers, the Xers, have to try and glorify this pitiful era with these statues and monuments and historical markers to commemorate Generation X. I am not Generation X. It might shock many of you, dear viewers, to learn that I am indeed a millennial. All right, I know. I hear the sighs, okay? I sense the eyes rolling back. I don't know. I don't know what to say, except my generation really is as good as everybody denies it is. I am very interested in Generation X because two of my siblings are Gen Xers. There was quite a gap, right? There's like my two older siblings. It's like they're 10 and 9 years older than me. I, of course, am the joy of my parents' autumnal years, the final child. They had 2 and 2, right? First two, not good enough. They had to come back for a second round. Anyway, I'm not going to get into family politics, but having Gen X siblings, it's weird, all right? Having siblings that are in a different generation because they do behave differently. And anytime that they can be lampooned and roasted, I think that's a good thing. And I really like it. Here's the Arc de Beavis and Butthead. What's more Gen X than Beavis and Butthead, right? That one's not that funny, so I feel bad for really focusing in on this. Here's the Quentin Tarantino once worked here. On this spot. You know what? Now I'm starting to wonder because when I was a kid, I really liked Beavis and Butthead and Quentin Tarantino. This is actually, I don't know, man. This is hitting a little too close to home. On this spot in 1988, it was officially decided that the city of Seattle would henceforth be cool. I don't think it's cool. Here's my favorite one. Janine Garofalo, patron saint of the slacker, low self-esteem. And there she is. Look at with a hot dog on her head. I don't know, but she's wearing a skirt, smoking a cigarette. There in New York Harbor. How beautiful. The Friends Memorial Fraternity, Poverty, Wisecrackery. The kind of strange thing about this is that a lot of these things are coming back. Like Friends got re-released on Netflix. Beavis and Butthead, they restarted that. Quentin Tarantino is still relevant. So I don't know. This is kind of amusing. Maybe I shouldn't have come back to it though. The Mick Job Monument, over 30 million underpaid. That is actually that's really still apropos, prescient. I don't know. Tad Feingold, the last MTV cameraman to even try to keep the camera steady and in focus. See, if you don't even get that joke, you're too young. All right. Here we have the Spy versus Spy. This is a Manic and Edwing joint written by Edwing, drawn by Doug Manic. And I don't know. It's fun. It is. Every time I comment on the use of sound effects, which feels very much out of character for Spy versus Spy. But I don't know, what's jumping out to me is this sort of like, it seems more childlike, almost more like animation versus a cartoon. And, you know, it's different, but they kept it going. And I think it's like, it's great that it kept going. I think that was like the right choice, is just to keep passing the reins along. Because Spy versus Spy is wonderful. And it's one of those things that they should not let go of in Mad Magazine. Here is the lighter side of. And then, again, another Gen X humor thing. The worst MTV contests of all time. So they would have on MTV Music Television, they would have these contests like a video, be the next VJ or something. You could win tickets. You could do all sorts of stuff. Maybe the VJ stuff was later on. But, you know, it's like MTV was basically a video radio show. And so they would do things that radio stations would do all the time. Now, the other thing that I love about MAD of this era is I was like 10 years old when this came out, and I was not the most tuned in 10-year-old. I was really into, like, I was still reading or like watching cartoons all the time. And so I didn't know about things like Boy George and his proclivities. But this is informative. I was like familiar with it, and then I saw these jokes, and I was like, "Ooh, wait, what?" It was somewhat revelatory for me. When whatever we comb out of ZZ Top's beards, there you have Arthur, the avocado plant, Hypnotoad. Go camping with Boy George in 1984. These Rick Tulka illustrations are so great, too. 1985, scrub George Michael's Fleet of Limos with the other guy from Wham. Go shopping for your spring wardrobe with Cyndi Lauper. Oop, that wasn't even in focus. Get 6 months of singing lessons from Milli Vanilli. Here we have go on a dream date with Tupac and his boys. What are they implying there? Jeez Louise. Here we have go on a 1-minute snacking spree at any pet store with Ozzy Osbourne. Oh my God. These illustrations, though, I should be spending more time on them because it's just like, it's freaking awesome. Jesus Christ. Binge and Purge with Paula Abdul. Men at Work, Debbie Gibson, Mr. Wang Chung, Billy Ocean, and Loverboy all perform live at your house, an $80 value. And then here we have Tour of the Vatican with Sinead O'Connor. Oh, Sinead O'Connor. MTV flies you anywhere in the world while TLC house sits for you. What is that? Was it Left Eye or Chili that famously torched her boyfriend's home? Became an arsonist? Anyway, I love this Rick Tulka stuff. Some of the other things that like this, right? I knew who Axl Rose was, right? I knew he was in Guns N' Roses, but like this whole, he's got a needle hanging out of his arm. He's got bags under his eyes. He's drinking. I don't know. It was revelatory. Now, this next one, I remember reading this issue, and like all of this stuff seemed pretty familiar to me, but it was the next page that sent me back to my childhood home. And this was from my childhood issue. It's look at that, addressed to me. This is like one of the most, I don't know if they would ever repost this or like reissue this, but as a 10-year-old, this blew my flippin' mind. See if you can spot the gag. I mean, it's like all of them. Oh my God. This was unbelievable. So this is the board game rejects. So we got to go through these. They're like, first off, Steve Smallwood. This Steve Smallwood artwork, it really reminds me of Woodbridge for some reason. Well, it's like these faces, the way he has the faces, and they're all like kind of chubby and got the zits on them. The way the hair is drawn really reminds me of Woodbridge. This one, Lil Proctologist, bending over was never so much fun. And here you have, like, I was 10. This is unbelievable. Look at the Vaseline. Look at this kid's like looking down. This kid's smiling. He's having a hell of a time. And then this guy's like crawling away from this demented one. Holy smokes. Here is the WrestleMania. I mean, this guy had to have been influenced by Woodbridge, because it's just like this face in particular. That, you know, that Woodbridge face, right? Okay. The wacky violence game, WrestleMania. Reason for rejection. Consumers likely to be interested in a professional wrestling game, probably unable to read the instructions. Ooh. Oh. All right. Now, another fucking disturbing one. I remember this. I remember all of this. This is cataract removal surgery, ophthalmology fun for everyone. Reason for rejection. Blinded players can only play once. And so you have this kid screaming. This girl annoyed, just so angry at her, I don't know, younger brother for ruining the evening. Now this is the one that really was burned into my memory, even more so from this like kind of horrible, what was that movie with ultra violence? I forget. Is That Thing Loaded? The gun safety game for kids of all ages. NRA Toys. Comes complete with adjustable shoulder holster, 6 rounds of lime ammo, and 2 junior handguns. This is, I don't know why, like this whole board game thing, with the exception of the WrestleMania thing, I feel like is one of the most like crazy subversive things that MAD had done in so long. It's just unreal. And look at this kid. Look at this illustration. This is like, it's funny. Like the whole thing is funny, but it's also disturbing, right? It's like one of those things where I don't know if it's like uncomfortable laughter or what, but it's like, boy, oh boy, what a fantastic thing. I mean, like Steve Smallwood, man, my dude, that was amazing. And here we have another great thing that I'm just going to cruise through this, just because I love the comic strips. And it's not often that I feel like I don't think like, oh, kids these days, they don't have it as good as I had it. Because I think for the most part, kids have it they have it good. Like, and I'm glad that they have it good. But in one way that I think my childhood was superior to children's is that I got the newspaper every single day, and every single day I was able to read the funnies in the morning. In recognition of still doing jokes about drunkenness in these politically correct times. Isn't that funny? They were complaining about political correctness when this issue came out. Celebrating the only character in the 90s who can still get away with being named the Fat Bra. The Far Side and Calvin and Hobbes, saluting the all too infrequent quitting while you're ahead strip. Saluting 4 decades of a U.S. military strip that's never had anything to do with U.S. military actions. At least we never had to go to Vietnam. What's Vietnam? The Lockhorns, promoting dysfunctional relationships. All right, we're gonna zip out. I can't even go through this. A mad look at Stuntman. Hit pause, enjoy it. All right, there we go. We're moving on. Now here you go. This is honestly why I think the early to mid 90s, and maybe 90s in general, is the best era of Mad Magazine. And I know it's because it's when I was a kid and I was reading it, but you also had people who were fairly new, like Tom Bunk, working alongside people like George Woodbridge, like these old dudes that were still doing awesome work. Probably not career best. You can't call it that, but they were doing freaking awesome work, man. And it's just great. That's what makes this era so freaking good. That, and they did really go all out. If you break thumbs and crack kneecaps to make a buck, you're a crook. If you sell a skateboard or rollerblades to every putz who comes into your store so he can go out and do the job himself, you're a businessman. If you make cheap video copies of Die Harder and Pulp Fiction to sell in the corner or at shady street fairs, you're a crook. But if you produce cheap rip-offs of those films to sell at actual video stores, you're a businessman. Lethal Die Hard 7. Whoop. And then we get into the extremely ultimate fights. And here Tom Bunk, writer Desmond Devlin. Now this is it's really bizarre that they had Tom Bunk doing this. They do the big splash page, but having him do a paneled out cartoon just doesn't really seem like his thing to me. And I think there's probably a reason why they ended up not having him do that anymore, and he just sort of did either those big splash page things or other stuff. This crowd is pretty fun because you should see some familiar faces in the audience. Let me know in the comments who you see. Yes, there is a shark. I see that too. That's not a familiar face though. That's an animal. Okay, guys? But yeah, this is this type of thing is really fun to scan through and appreciate and admire. But what, I don't know, doesn't really work as much for me is when it gets into this. It's Larry King and the Olsen twins doing I don't know what Desmond Devlin's thinking. He's that guy's a lunatic, and it's pretty awesome. But yeah, it's just sort of how brutal the UFC was. And this is, I think, when it really was pretty brutal. And here's just a random, usually these things are spent all throughout. Oh my God. I'm not even going to read that. Look at this. So, what crime against humanity is the government doing nothing to prevent? Here we go. There's skinheads. There's what is that called? A Klansman. Here's MAD. What is this? Weapons selling? Drug dealing? Who knows? Allowing greedy owners to move sports teams. Oh. Max Cornflakes. Smegma beer? Oh, that's horrible. Isn't smegma? Anyway, smegma is something awful. You don't want to know. And finally, look at this. Click this. MAD's remotely funny fake out cable label. Yeah, you used to have those on the back of your remote. Anyway, no time for any of that. What did I tell you? 30 minutes, and I deliberately edited things out. All right. The 90s were the best. Disagree? Leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Toodaloo.